All right, everybody. Celtics are rolling. 15-9, third place now in the Eastern Conference. How the hell is this happening? We're going to try to talk about it. We're going to try to figure it out. We've got 5 stats that may help to explain the quick rise up the Eastern Conference standings. This is Green with Envy. You guys know the deal. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy. As always, this is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Recording late on a Monday night due to some sicknesses, scheduling difficulties, all of the above here. A little bit of a different recording schedule for us this week, but appreciate anybody that is joining us here as we are live on YouTube, live on Twitter, or if you're just listening to us on the way to work. Hope we're making it a little bit better for you. Joining me as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. Greg, appreciate you accommodating the many conflicts I've had the last couple days.
All good, man. I see you got a new little hat you wearing. New little hat.
I don't really know if I like the way that you said that, but like, you got a nice little hat there.
Well,
little hat buddy. I know you didn't mean it that way, but
here's my thing. It's like you clearly have your camera settings on mirror my video, so like your Boston is upside down.
No, that's the hat.
Oh, that's the hat. Okay, tell me about it. Tell me about the hat.
No, it's just so it's funny. I do every once in a while. So this is like kind of behind the scenes here. You can like click different settings when you're going into the podcast studio. Sometimes I click that mirror my image setting. Sometimes I don't. Yeah. I don't actually know what it does. So that's but I just do it every once in a while. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure they have it for a reason. People must use it. So sometimes I click it. Sometimes I don't.
So why is it upside down?
It's just kind of a style I've seen out there. And when I was at the game last over Thanksgiving, the Pistons game, I was just kind of looking for a new hat. I wanted a new Celtics hat. I've been wearing the Girl Dad Collective hat. It's of that same style. And so I've been looking for another hat to just have a little bit of versatility with that style of hat.
Nice.
This one was just a little bit different. It was I usually get basically the same hat. Like if I look at my like hats that I have here, half of them are ruined from anytime I go golfing and it's fucking 100 degrees out, and then I try to wash it and brims get all bent, whatever. I'm really bad at taking care of anything clothes related or apparel related. Yeah. I'm just not good at it. So I'm trying to find a couple of hats. I'm like, okay, these are only going to be worn like either, here, podcasting, whatever areas that I can, it's really easy to maintain. And so I really obviously like that Girl Dad Collective hat. So I was like, I've seen these style of hats. I don't know if there's a particular name. They're just snapbacks, but they do have like, I could point them out to you if we were showing you video or in the street. And I've seen these ones.
Well, us out in them streets,
out in the streets, out in those streets, yeah. When it's 9 a.m. getting a taco while the kids go play. Yeah. Just like, yeah, right there, those streets. But yeah, I saw this one. It's got like the letter, the Boston upside down on it. I've seen it in like a bunch of videos with like Texas and like other brands that have it. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if this is necessarily me. I also made this decision like trying to beat the rush at halftime, and I didn't really want to think about it too much. And so I just went with like a quick instinct. Let's pull the trigger. Let's get back before the third quarter starts. So
well, it looks great. It looks great. I didn't mean to demean you by saying you got a little new little hat there, but it looks great. I'm jealous of it. You always look good in a hat, man. You look better in a hat than I do. So it's a compliment.
Hey man, I appreciate that. And I like the chances that you've taken with your hat collection recently. I know you think you got a bunch from like, I don't know if it was a thrift store or someone's cleaning out their closet or
no, Danielle's grandfather died.
Okay, yeah, that makes it sound a lot worse. That's not great, but it's a great way to honor him. Noble of you. And I really respect the way that you honor those that have come before us. Let's transition out of this. So the Boston Celtics are good at basketball. Didn't see that coming, Greg. Hand up. Did not. Here's what I'll say before we get into the gimmick that we have today. This season is just so enjoyable, and I think we're not alone, and you're starting to see the ripple effects even in national podcasts where they're like, hey guys, the Celtics are actually just like good, and it's it's still somewhat early, right? So there's times you can be really fooled by a record, but I think everyone's seeing what we're seeing, which is makes me feel good that we're not just sitting here completely biased by, it's the Celtics, the team we love, but it feels like we're watching good basketball, and a lot of people think so too. So that makes me feel good that what we're watching and the way we feel about it feels like it's translating not just in Boston circles, but in national circles as well.
Right. And it's those podcasts that I don't actually know are popular, or if my Instagram feed just decides to send me like NBA podcasts where I literally have no idea if these are popular podcasts. They just always end up on my algorithm. I'm like, oh, people are talking about the Celtics now. Cool. And like, I don't really know if like a lot of people are actually talking about the Celtics. But one thing I was wondering, Will, as you were just talking there is, are you having more fun this season than you did last season watching this team?
I thought about this the other day. 100%. It makes no sense. Like it's illogical to be having like the record last year was better. The team last year more talented. The potential of that team, they were defending a championship. But it is without question way more enjoyable this season to cover and watch. Like both things, both elements of the way you and I consume this team are much more enjoyable this season.
It's just more fun rooting for an underdog, dude. Like I had so much more fun rooting for the Brad Stevens era Celtics.
This feels like a Brad Stevens team.
It really does. It really does. And it's cool just kind of like being back in that irrational fandom that we haven't really felt in a couple of years because the expectations on this team have been so high. And now I'm just like, when I texted our group chat with Liptak about like the Celtics being we said Teddy listened to our episode and put in our group chat like, you guys are already back in on the Celtics being contenders. I'm like, I kind of like, I'm not joking, like I really kind of believe that they are.
And one of his responses, our buddy Liptak, who's been on the show here, which really put it in perspective. He's like, I don't know, man. The East wasn't like crazy stacked, and you guys had, a better team last year and lost in the second round. So maybe you guys should slow your roll. And he's not entirely wrong, and it made me think. But at the same time, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. They genuinely mean that.
This team, like, kind of makes more sense as a modern NBA team than the previous iteration of the Celtics, especially with like an older Al Horford, a depleted Kristaps Porzingis, and an older Drew Holiday. Like there were a lot of names, but the game didn't necessarily match the reputation of the name last year. And that was kind of the issue. The previous year, like Drew Holiday was amazing. Al Horford was still amazing. Kristaps had his moments where he was just unstoppable. But then last year, it was like pretty underwhelming. And when you compare just like apples to apples, Neemias Queta and what he's doing this year versus Al Horford and what he did for the team last year, like was Horford really that much better than Queta? Like Drew Holiday versus Peyton Pritchard, was Drew Holiday that much better than what Peyton Pritchard has brought to the starting lineup? You know what I mean? And like Jaylen Brown versus Jason Tatum, like was Tatum better than Jaylen Brown is this year? Like I don't think he was.
Well, and the thing is, that team, while you knew what you could get or what to expect, there wasn't really a lot of room for growth, right? Just because of the age and the style that you had to play, and you knew who you were, which is good. That can be an absolute benefit to you, right, in certain moments. But sometimes when you don't know who you are and you're kind of trying to figure it out, and you can be a little bit more free, like it's almost like the wild guy that you don't want to fight, right? Like he's like, that guy's a little bit of a wild card. I might be able to knock him out because he might come out swinging wildly, but he might connect, and as the fight goes on, he might settle in and then start to understand some things, and all of a sudden this guy is way more dangerous, even though at the beginning he wasn't as dangerous as it seemed. I'm not a boxing guy. That might not have made a ton of sense, but it's just kind of this unknown that these Celtics are bringing to the table. And so some nights you're getting these performances that it's like, and this is a good litmus test of when it feels like a Brad Stevens team, when you're in the group chat and you're like, man, Jordan Walsh and Josh Minot, if that's what you're leading with, that feels like you're leading with, man, remember Kelly Olynyk and, Evan Turner? Like that's kind of like what a Brad Stevens team, even though, Isaiah Thomas and Jaylen Brown are the heads of the snake, you're sometimes almost more leading with the secondary or the tertiary stories that really jump out to you, because you're like, those shouldn't be the second and third lines of an epic win against a true NBA Finals contender, but those are the second and third lines once you get past Jaylen Brown.
And when you go back to the Brad Stevens era and like the money he was able to make for people, now I'm looking at guys like Kada and Walsh. I'm like, are we going to even be able to fucking afford these guys? You know what I mean? Like,
it's a fair point.
It's pretty crazy. Like Jordan Walsh has been unbelievable, man. He's shooting like 90% from the field or something like crazy over the past 5 games.
Well, let's use this. Let's use this, Greg, because that's okay. One of the 5 stats that I have here.
Yeah,
I have 5 different things that we're gonna do here. So I found 5 different stats. 2 of these, I've got a few more than 5, so I'll pick and choose depending on where our conversation goes. But one of them is Jordan Walsh related, and so let's just start here with stat number 1. We'll go to Jordan Walsh, and I'm gonna shout out Jack Simone on this because I grabbed this from his Twitter here. But it's just a breakdown of who Jordan Walsh has guarded during his stretch of becoming what is essentially, it seems like it's going to be a full-time starter for the rest of the season for the Celtics here. Jordan Walsh versus the following. Jordan Walsh versus James Harden, 3 of 7. Donovan Mitchell, 2 of 8. Cade Cunningham, 0 of 6. Tyrese Maxey, 1 of 9. Scotty Barnes, 1 of 3. Franz Wagner, 1 of 4. Austin Reeves, 0 for 3. Jaren Jackson Jr., 0 for 5. Anthony Edwards, 3 for 7. Karl Anthony Towns, 1 for 4. We've talked about it before, Greg, but that's an all that we could be having an all NBA or an all-star conversation. If I just threw those names out to you with no context, that's probably your guess as to what type of conversation that you're having. And the versatility of Jordan Walsh defensively, which is feeling like he's making, an all defensive team case. Now it's still very, very early for that, but right there, that's a damn good foundation for the start of your all defensive case.
He's been unbelievable, man. I like really am struggling to believe that this is actually happening. Like the Andre Iguodala potential that I always was like trying to speak into existence, but I always felt silly saying it, and seeing him realize that potential over a 10-game stretch where I'm just like, holy shit, was I right this whole time? Like Jordan Walsh is like,
well, because there was like, who was it? Terry Rozier you said had Allen. Was you used to compare to Allen Iverson?
I used to say. But I always got away with it by saying like he moved to like Allen Iverson. I know he's nowhere near Allen Iverson, but he moves like Allen Iverson, like just the way his body moves.
And that's Terry had some moments. And now he's he's got some other things going on right now.
Yeah, and it's like with Jordan Walsh, man, it's just everything that he's doing on defense is just really, really special, dude. Like he's stealing little bits of defensive identity from all these guys that he's been able to look up to over the past 3 years, like the Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, anticipate when you drive a certain way and just like beat you to the spot and swipe and just like lead yourself into your own fast break off of a steal. Like he's getting really good at that. The contest from behind that Derek White is so good at, the ball pressure that you see out of Peyton Pritchard and Drew Holiday, like the Jason Tatum help side defense, like all that stuff that he's been able to just watch and just study from some of the greatest defenders in the NBA. And he's like, you know what? This is my only role. So I'm just going to go ahead and be fucking an amalgamation of every single one of you guys. And I'm also 21 years old. So like I have boundless energy and I'm okay picking up 94 feet.
So I'll hit you with the Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Maybe that's not his only role, because the last 5 games, there has been a Jordan Walsh offensive renaissance that has gone along with this. And so I was pulling it up here as you were talking, because I wrote down his last 5 games, 14 points, 7 rebounds, 2.8 stocks. Those are just kind of the upfront numbers. The shooting numbers are so stupid. They just have no chance to be any type of realistic. So I didn't even write them down, but luckily I still had them pulled up for when I pulled these stats earlier. So let me just read you his shooting stats from the last 5 games. Right now, over the last 5 games, Jordan Walsh is shooting 76.5% from the field on 34 shots. He's shooting 63.6% from 3-point range, 7 of 11. 82.6% from the 2-point range, 19 of 23, and then has gotten to the line 13 times, 84.6%. So I don't think the 76, 63, 84 slash line, I don't think that's going to quite hold. But this, again, to the point that I said earlier about like last year's team versus this year's team, there just continues to be this growth that you don't see coming. First, we didn't see Jordan Walsh getting playing time. Then we didn't see Jordan Walsh becoming this ace defensive stopper in the starting lineup. And now we have these nights where I'm like, Jordan Walsh is just going for 20 points. Jordan Walsh is going for 15 points in a night. Now I don't know what's gonna end up holding true, but my eyes tell me the Jordan Walsh offense, like there is something there to his offensive game. Like he's not just a defensive, he's not Tony Allen, if you will, not, to be like a complete zero on offense. Like like we talked about it in that Cavs game where we were like, man, he got an offensive rebound, made this little pivot move in the lane and faded away, and it looked really comfortable and nice. And in each game, I just feel like you're seeing a little bit more from Jordan Walsh on the offensive side. And to your point, I don't know where it's going to keep going, but I'm buckled in. I'm on the ride. I can't wait to see what happens.
Best offensive player of this group. I'm going to throw some names at you. You tell me based off of what we've seen out of Jordan Walsh this year, if it's like even close. You already mentioned one of them, Tony Allen. Okay. Tony Allen, Andre Roberson, Thabo Cephalosha, Matisse Thybulle, Jordan Walsh.
I mean, this is tough. So I will say Tony Allen had moments on the Celtics before he blew his knee out doing that dunk that didn't count when he thought it was the big four instead of the big three and he was the four. Like Tony Allen at least had some moments. So I'll put Tony Allen to the side because he at least gave you a window. The other three guys, I can't really remember other than them just sitting in the corner and you praying that they hit shots, right? Like Jordan Walsh is driving closeouts. Jordan Walsh is getting to the rim, scooping up and under and getting in once. Jordan Walsh is not just, I mean, he is getting open shots, but he's shooting them with confidence and in rhythm. It's not one of those ones where, I'm thinking of Thabo Cephalosha, who you mentioned, like it's Westbrook in the lane, it's Durant in the lane, it's Ibaka gets double teamed down low, and it's like 5 seconds left. We know Tabo's open. Let's just kick it to him, and he's gonna have to shoot 6 of these. I hope 2 of them go in, right? Like that's not Jordan Walsh, right? So I think other than let's just reserve this being not just a hot streak and we're over giving him too much credit. I'll put Tony Allen above him, but the rest of them, from everything I've seen now, I didn't watch them as closely. Like he's there or above. Like that's where I would put Jordan Walsh right now, and I feel very confident about him going forward, showing us more and more.
What you've seen out of Jordan Walsh this year, do you feel more or less confident than you did at Grant Williams' peak with the Celtics?
Offensively, right?
I'm gonna go overall.
Overall, I mean, I'm very in the moment right now, so I want to say I feel more confident. But there was a time where I really believed Grant Williams was very undervalued and that he was very, very important to this team. So if I really check myself, I gotta say Grant I felt stronger about for longer, but like check back here in 40 games. Let's see where we're at. Because right now this is an 11 to 12 game stretch for Jordan Walsh. So let's see where we're at when we get to early February or around the All-Star break. We can reassess that question. So I would say Grant Williams for now, and that's me really having to check myself on this. What would you say?
I'd say Grant. Yeah, there was a time where I really thought Grant was going to be like the small ball 5 of the future for the Celtics. And like he'd have games where he'd be like primary assignment guarding Devin Booker and doing a pretty good job of it. So I hope Grant gets healthy and is able to play NBA basketball again because he's just like a streamer now as he recovers from his
very boring streamer. Have you seen his clips? Like his clips are just real. Like I don't necessarily. We've talked before. I don't get the streaming culture, but like Grants are like him trying to be exciting, and I've watched like 2 or 3 clips, and I'm just like, this doesn't have the same feel. Like JB's got like hip hop stars in his room, and everybody's like JB's doing the thing that I don't get that everybody loves. Grant Williams is like a nerd in his room with his glasses. Like, guys, no pick and roll's coming, but I just didn't see it coming like this.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, man.
Poor Grant.
But get well soon, Grant.
Yeah, but I would say Grant, there was a real moment for like an entire season where I was like, Grant Williams is like super underrated. So I think if Walsh plays, he's not going to shoot the way he's shooting right now for an entire season, but just like the impact that he's having, if he's able to do that for this entire season, I would say that piece is the piece that the Celtics have been missing for the past few years, whereas Grant was just like kind of doing what Al Horford was already doing. You know what I mean? So like it wasn't quite as important to have that because it was a little bit redundant. But when you think of like Grant Williams, Semi Ojeleye, who like Semi was the guy that we were trying to beat Grant before Grant, and he wasn't unable to reach that potential. Like Jordan Walsh is already doing more than Semi Ojeleye ever did for the Celtics, right? Aside from like, I mean, guarding Giannis in like real moments is something, but it was more just us talking ourselves into Semi being a Giannis stopper than him actually being a Giannis stopper.
Right.
Like Jordan Walsh
is a Ruben Patterson level Giannis stopper.
Yeah, like you just like think about the names that you just listed. That's insane. Like to be able to do that over an entire season is impressive, but to be able to do it over a 10-game sample is unheard of.
Yeah, and it's 1 through 5, right? Like you got Tyrese Maxey and you got Karl-Anthony Towns in the same list. Like,
yeah,
that just shows you the versatility. So that's the first stat that we were looking at here, and that was just Jordan Walsh stats for you. That's all that was, just a variety of Jordan Walsh stats. Stat number 2 that I got here, Greg, and this is something that has become a Mazzulla staple as a coach. Since he's taken over, the Celtics finished 7th in turnovers per game his first year. They finished in the top 3 the next 2 years. This year, they are back at the top of the board. League best 11.8 turnovers per game. You know, we've mentioned it before. Mazzulla ball, I think it gets mangled up in the media a lot. It's just, they just shoot a lot of threes. That's Mazzulla ball. Not correct. It's advantage basketball and it's winning on the margins. Like those are the 2 things that I think of when Mazzulla ball and what it actually represents. And this is one of those winning on the margins type of things, is being, relentless about securing the basketball. And so this is going to lead into a couple other stats that I have here, but one to first just highlight, the Celtics taking care of the basketball, because then I think that opens up a few of the other things that we're going to talk about. But it's been so important for this team, especially where that could have easily been an area of concern, where you lose Tatum for however long he's out, you lose Holiday, you lose the decision making of Al Horford, of Luke Cornett, who's a high IQ guy. And we talked about it an episode or 2 ago. We're like, did you expect to end the game with Jordan Walsh and Josh Minott making reads out of the short roll? And so that's a lot to go on this team, and to still be at the top of the league in turnovers. I think that's extremely meaningful given the roster turnover.
Well, when you think about what the philosophy of his offense is to create those advantage moments where it's 5-on-4 or 4-on-3 or 3-on-2 or 2-on-1, it's like kind of silly to expect to have a high turnover rate when you are playing advantage basketball. Like if you're turning the ball over in a 4-on-3 situation or 3-on-2 situation, it's like these are drills that you run all the way back to when you're like first playing basketball. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like anytime you have an advantage, if you're turning the ball over, you're running sprints. Like that's just what it is. Like you should not turn the ball over when you have an advantage in numbers. But then when you think about the personnel that the Celtics have, and Peyton Pritchard is a low turnover guy, Derek White is a low turnover guy, Jaylen Brown has been historically a high turnover guy, but they're putting him in positions to be a low turnover guy this year. It's just like when you think about the last game that the Celtics played, which they go up big, they end up blowing the lead against the Raptors, and in the fourth quarter, it's kind of the Derek White show. And Derek White just plays like unbelievable basketball. And like, this is kind of what we were talking about over the last couple of years. It's like in crunch time, should we just give the ball to Derek White? Because he's not going to turn the ball over. And we're probably going to get a good shot, right? He hasn't shown it so far this year, but in that last game against the Raptors, it was like, yeah, I kind of just want the ball in Derek White's hands, everybody. Like, get the fuck out of the way. Think about a couple games ago, it was the same thing with Peyton Pritchard. We were like, why are we even messing around giving the ball to anybody but Peyton Pritchard right now? Yeah. He's not going to turn the ball over and we're going to get a good shot, right? So I think those stats just kind of exemplify and underscore the importance of having those high IQ guys that are just going to make the right decision throughout 48 minutes and especially in crunch time.
Yeah, and with Derek White, another stat that I didn't have on here, but I did see 7 clutch 3-pointers made this year, at shooting them at about a 64% clip. And so while the numbers are still not up there for Derek White, they're coming back. You definitely feel like you've seen the Derek White that we've been looking for over the last 5 to 7 games or so. So hopefully those numbers will start to come back up. Those clutch numbers are certainly very encouraging, and again, match up with what we've said about Derek White for the last couple of years. So that was stat number 2, league best 11.8 turnovers per game. Now I've got a group of stats here that kind of all go together. So this is really going to be kind of stat number 3 and 4 that we're kind of working all in here together here, Greg. So something that I think is really interesting. So limit the turnovers per game. However, the Celtics, and this is something that I think is playing to their benefit. And I saw this again somewhere in my algorithm here, and I apologize, I don't know who to credit exactly for this, but they talked about the Celtics are kind of playing small ball or money ball, but in basketball terms. And so we brought this up several weeks ago because of all the talk in the preseason. We're running, we're a track team, we're out, we're gunning. They're dead last in pace. But I think with that, what they've been able to do is with the limited turnovers, here are some other things that being last in pace that they've been able to do that kind of tilts the math in a really interesting way in their favor. Because of those limited turnovers, they're actually third in field goal attempts despite being last in pace at 91.6 shots per game. The more shots you have, the better chance you have to. Very simple math there. They're third in second chance points. This is, of course, rebounding just in general, an area that was going to be very highly concerned. Was at the beginning of the season, Celtics have definitely stemmed that tide. Third in second chance points, 17.5 points per game. Fifth in offensive rebounds. So I think when you look at all of those together, Greg, I think those are really interesting ways that, again, this goes back to Missoula ball, finding the advantages, like you mentioned, 3-on-2, 4-on-3, and then winning in the margins and finding these ways. And we know the 3-point volume the Celtics have always had that's going to be there. But I think also getting just more shots up, holding on to the ball, not turning the ball over, playing at that slower pace, even though the rest of the NBA is trying to match up with the Pacers style of play. The Celtics kind of have this alternate look at it, and then you look at them with their second chance points, their offensive rebounding, and a lot of that's coming from the Jordan Walsh, from the Josh Minots, from Ugo Gonzalez, and the crashes that they have from the wings, right? That's something the Celtics have had an emphasis on the last couple of years. And now, again, we're going back to the beginning of the conversation. I love when this happens organically, that the beginning of our conversation just kind of goes all the way through. But you look at the personnel that we had last year, and like, you're not going to see Al Horford crashing across the court from the 3-point line, right? You're not really going to see that with Drew Holiday as much, maybe select times. Now it's an all-out battle. You may have Josh Minot and Jordan Walsh crashing each other in the middle of the paint when a shot goes up because they're both crashing from the side. Sam Hauser, underrated at doing this element for the last couple of years, but now it's every single person on the court is doing this. And so it's not just select lineups, it's basically every lineup that is happening with the Celtics. And so despite the fact that they've only played one center basically over the last 2 weeks, they're still continuing to rank this highly. And so a really interesting kind of combination of all those stats, Greg.
Yeah, and sometimes when you put an emphasis on offensive rebounding and crashing the offensive boards, that can come at the expense of your transition defense. I don't have the numbers on where they rank in terms of transition defense this year right now, but it's just something that I kind of thought about. But that in the past, they kind of emphasized having their half-court defense set, right? But like the league is becoming more of a chaotic league where you need to find, like to your point about small ball, money ball, like you need to find the winning on the margins, as you said with Joe Mazzulla. But as you were talking about the offensive rebounds, it just reminded me of the Knicks game, right? And I just went back to look at the offensive rebound numbers. Jordan Walsh had 4 offensive rebounds. Keita had 2. Josh Minott had 3. Ugo had 1. And they were all like these really loud offensive rebounds for like wide open layups. I think there were like 5 or 6 that like they just crashed the glass and just like caught the ball right at the rim and laid it up. And like those moments were seemingly, and we watch every single Celtics game, like you and I. We didn't see that a lot last year. And like maybe our memories are not serving us correctly, but it really didn't feel that way. Like they didn't have the young, spry legs to go ahead and get those offensive rebounds. Maybe there'd be dunks like a Kristaps Porzingis put back dunk or something like that. But how many fucking games did Porzingis play? Oh, by the way, dude, how crazy is this? So Kristaps Porzingis diagnosed with POTS, whatever the fuck POTS was. Never heard of it in my entire life before. I'm not going to put this person on blast, but a person pretty close to me in my life recently diagnosed with POTS. And I was like, where the fuck have I heard this before? And I was like, holy shit, you have the same, you have the same virus or like disease.
Whatever it is. Yeah, I don't even know what it is. Whatever ailment you want to call it.
Yeah. And I was like talking to them about it, and they were like, yeah, like sometimes I'm just sitting there and all of a sudden my heart rate like spikes through the roof, and I feel like I've run a marathon when the morning comes along, and I literally haven't done anything except like sit down. And I was
I hope this person in your life is fine. That actually in a weird way that makes me feel better about the whole Kristaps thing because honestly, because to your point, I've never heard of it. So I'm like, this feels like kind of made up. Like, remember when Markelle Fultz was going through whatever he was going through? They made up
Thoracic outlet syndrome.
Yeah, it was like, okay, you guys just made this up because you had nothing and he just got the yips, right? Like you just couldn't figure it out. So you came up with something. That's what this felt like, right? With this whole POTS thing that we just couldn't name it for 8 months, 9 months, whatever. So I hope that person in your life is okay. But that makes me feel a little bit that's just like a normal person is like, yeah, you got POTS, man.
I know. And like the thing about it is it seems like one of those things where, hey, we've like tried everything, but we don't know what it is. So like it might be this POTS thing that we've come up with. You know what I mean? Like the same thing with like the Fultz thing. It's like, yeah, it's thoracic outlet syndrome, where it's something we can't explain, but for some reason you can't lift your hand over your head anymore.
What a ridiculous time that was with Markelle Fultz. Yeah, man, just one of the best athletes in the world, and now you just can't lift your arm over your shoulder, and there's no
according to
diagnosis.
the Philly people in my life, it's like, yeah, he got in a motorcycle accident, and like they don't want to just report that. Like all Philly fans are just like convinced it was a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, you just pulled the Jay Williams.
Yeah.
But yes, anyways, from the POTS conversation, I think to your point, I don't think you're wrong in not remembering like those same type of putbacks because again, like I mentioned, can you picture Al Horford crashing the glass the way that we're seeing these guys do it now?
Not
Can
like
you picture
corner
Drew
crash,
Holiday?
right? Like you can see him like getting a garbage rebound under the basket, but it was like not those super athletic, like sprint from the corner, finish at the rim type of putbacks.
But when you're playing 5 out like the Celtics still do a lot of the time, right? Like that's how you get those offensive rebounds is you got to come from the outside in. Like you're other than Nemi, you're not down there. No one else is down there because if Joe's not playing a second center, everyone is still playing mostly from the outside. Of course, they're going to be cutting through, but like that's where you're going to have to, make your mark. And so I think it makes a lot of sense. I think our eyes are telling us the correct story when you look at last year versus this year.
And it reminds me a lot of just like when I watch a hockey game. I'm not a hockey fan by any means, but like the way that hockey is played with like everybody like trying to fucking put the trash in. What was it like I think that's what it was, like clean up the trash. Was that a Mighty Ducks thing where like they were hitting all the trash into the into the goal, right? And it like when you think about defenders in hockey and like they're always kind of just pressuring the entire length of the ice. And that's what it feels like this NBA is kind of moving into, is like basketball as hockey, where there's like a lot more shit happening on the other side of the court, where previously it was like, hey, let's just get our asses back and play defense like past the half court line. Now it's like, hey, we can also play defense 94 feet away from the hoop and like slow them down here versus having to like get back on defense and slow them down after half court when maybe they already have an advantage.
Yep.
My attempt to hockey talk.
Hey, we try to give everybody what they want here, right? That's what we try to do on the show. I got 2 more for us here, Greg. I'm going to go back to some personal stats here, and then I'll wrap us up here. So first one I got, we haven't talked enough about him on this show. We have talked about him in other episodes. It's Neemias Queta, man. The advanced metrics for him are kind of off the charts. I know in the chat we have our guy Rob version 1, who's talking about getting another serviceable big to go along with Nemi, because when he's off the court, we basically have to go small ball. And it's really interesting because with Nemi on the court, the Celtics are one of the best defenses in the league. Without him, they're one of the worst when they do those wing lineups. But with those all wing lineups, it's off the charts offensively. I was listening to our guy Jason Timpf and Sam Bassini on Game Theory. I think he had it on those wing lineups. I believe the defensive rating is somewhere around 130, but the offensive rating is like 145. So it's just like an insane number. But with Neemias Queta, a lot of advanced metrics that you could look to here. One of the ones that I chose is one that Scal just harps on all the time in broadcasts, is right now, Neemias Queta is one of 8 big men averaging 4+ screen assists per game. Those are turning into an average of 9.8 points per night. So while this team doesn't have your traditional creators and ways that you think of playmakers, like this is another example of winning on the margins and Neemias Queta just doing things that are making a massive difference that we weren't sure he was going to be able to do. Like, this was going to be something where it's like, we understand he's going to try it, but everything we've seen in the past with his inconsistent minutes was that this is likely going to be how he gets into foul trouble every night. And now it's a massive, massive asset.
This is the best case scenario season for Neemias Queta. He's
Been awesome.
playing his ass off, dude. Like, this is all the high moments. Like, you think about the Warriors game last year. I don't know if you remember that, kind of early in the season before Kornet had kind of established himself as the third big on the team, and with Porzingis being out, just the backup big. We were like clamoring for more Queta. The entire Celtics nation was just like, hey, Neemias Queta just proved he can hang against the Warriors in crunch time. Maybe we should play him more. And then Kornet just proved to be more reliable. I was always making the comparison between Kornet and Queta to being like Daniel Tice versus Robert Williams the bubble season, and how Brad Stevens just relied on Daniel Tice because he knew he was always going to be there. He was never going to be out of position. Rob Williams, Bitcoin Bob. It was just like, it was boom or bust with him, right? Especially early in his career. And Queta is finally getting the opportunity where you've removed all of the safety blankets, and like your only option is Luka Garza or Xavier Tillman. It's like, we got to play Queta. Like, he's either going to prove to be a legitimate big man, or he's going to prove to be a career backup, right? But we know he's talented enough where he's an NBA big. And this year, he's proving that he's a starting center in the NBA. He's a top 15 center in the NBA without question. And the real question is, how high can he go? I've always compared him to DeAndre Ayton. We got the opportunity to see him versus Ayton side by side against the Lakers the other night. And it's like, kind of would just rather have Queta. Like, all things equal, I think I'd just rather have Queta.
Yeah, it's been an unbelievable season for him, man. And it's, it's so funny. Like, when in the offseason, when we laid out what is the path for this team to actually be in contention when Tatum comes back, if Tatum comes back this season. And it was like, man, Jaylen Brown's got to be all NBA. Neemias Queta's got to be a certified, starting center in this league. And we got to have, one or two guys pop. And it's like, so far through 20, almost 25 games, like basically all those have happened.
All that shit's happening, bro.
Yeah.
Jaylen, are we going to talk about Jaylen? Is your last stat about Jaylen?
He's the last one I got here. Yeah. So we'll talk about him. But yeah, just the Neemias Queta of it all is, I was hoping to establish him as a great backup option. And to your point, like, I think he's changing the dynamics on what Brad has to do. Now, as I think I've sent you in a couple of group chats, I mentioned several weeks ago when the Celtics beat the Clippers and they're going real downhill, I was like, man, Zubac is like my number one trade target with a bullet if we could figure out a way to make it happen. And he still is. I would still absolutely want to make that move if there's a way to do it. But I think, obviously that's going to cost a lot because Zubac is a really good player, almost made all NBA last year. But I think with Nemi's development, what it allows you to do is, hey, maybe we don't need to give up as many assets to get Zoo, or maybe we just choose not to, or it's too expensive, whatever. And we can just get like another. We just like a quality backup big. Unfortunately, we need another Luke Cornett. That's kind of what we need. We need Luke Cornett back on this team. But I think it gives Brad more versatility to aim a little bit lower, keep some of your your weaponry, if you will, for off-season future moves, whatever. And still maybe be able to upgrade this team in season. We'll see. I don't know, but I think Nemi's done Brad's job a little bit easier, to be honest, when it comes to finding another big.
Yeah, I got some comments here in the chat. A couple from Rob that you mentioned earlier. He says Amari is tearing up the G League. He had a triple-double the other night. Says, I'd like for him to get more looks in garbage time or for matchups where we can't afford to play small ball, like we saw in the Pistons game, right, where he blocked Cade, gave him some real trouble at the rim, played really well against Jalen Duren.
I like Amari in person. I'll just real quick on that. Like, Amari in person, and I was talking about this with our guy Phil, your guy Phil, well, kind of our guy too. Our guy Phil, I was talking about this with him the other day, and because he was at that game as well, and like Amari felt like a real presence out there. Like, it felt real.
Dude, he's legit 7-1.
I think Joe has some trouble trusting rookies fully, and you're seeing this with Ugo as well too, right? Because Ugo, even though when he gets out there, I feel like he's always making an impact. His minutes kind of go up and down. I can't imagine that Joe is gonna throughout the season feel comfortable enough to play Amari the way that is being suggested in the chat. But I'm for giving him more opportunities when we can.
Yeah, and then other comments here. We got one from Wexy Robinson. Rather get Claxton than a slow-footed post big that Missoula could never use before. I'm assuming that's a reference to Zubac because you were just talking about him. Rob also prefers Claxton to Zubac. I mean, Zoo is he's like borderline all NBA big. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I think you just got to take the talent over Claxton, who's like, yeah, he's athletic and he can do some stuff. He's switchable. Maybe is a better
Zoo's
fit
just
with
more
this team.
skilled,
Zoo
man.
is good, man. Zoo's
Zoo's really
really
good. He's skilled, and if you think about some of the bit, like if the Celtics need to kind of beef up, like they don't really have any way to do that right now, right? Like
Mhm.
even when Tatum comes back, like there's like you think about like it, and this is obviously looking way too far ahead to like an NBA Finals. But if the Celtics are gonna be at the top of the Eastern Conference, Tatum comes back, that's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about. And like you think about if the Thunder can throw out double bigs, if you play the Rockets and they can come out with their smash front line, if you play, Jokic, like wherever Giannis might end up. Like some of these are going to end up being real problems. And like, even with Amari, like I watched, in that Pistons game, there were moments where Jalen Duren just like he would disappear, but there were also moments where for 4 or 5 straight possessions, he just got 9 rebounds.
Right.
And so like that in a playoff series, like Zubac can help to eradicate that, but as well as he's very skilled, he can do a lot of things. So
Yeah.
I've never been a huge
He's
Claxton
not
guy, and
he's not
Zubac is just better.
yeah, I mean, he's definitely better than Claxton. Like, there's a reason why people are like lining up to try and get Zubac right now.
Yeah.
And Claxton's good. I'm not saying Claxton's bad. It's just like I think people are kind of underrating Zubac at this point. He's not Jonas Valanciunas. I think people are kind of like thinking he's like Jonas Valanciunas right now, and like there's completely different level of player. Zoo's a really, really good player. And when you think about teams like the Knicks, for example, we were able to play Mitchell Robinson off the court in the last game, right? And like in a one game, yes, you can do that. But over a 7-game series, you're going to be able to play Mitchell Robinson off the court and keep him off the glass. I don't know that you're going to be able to do
Like,
that.
think about
Cade,
how badly he fucked us up in the in the playoffs
yeah,
last year,
dude, he was
right?
a problem. Like you can't push Zubac around like that. And I do share some of the like fit concerns that people are kind of putting into the chat. I don't think
Mhm.
he's like the cleanest fit with this team, but in terms of a talent play, I don't think it's a question like Zubac over Claxton 10 days out of
Yeah.
10. But in terms of fit for the price that it would cost, like, yeah, like I think the Nets are going to be able to play hardball with Claxton just in terms of like what
Do
they
I know
can
what's
like,
funny about this whole
but the
conversation?
Clippers are just like, I don't fucking know what we're doing. Good.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing, but Claxton's more expensive than Zubac right now based on
Yeah.
their current contract. So that's the other side of this too. And like either way, this is the Anthony Simons trade, right? This is who's going out.
Right.
But I do
Dude,
think it's
who's like who's sneakily kind of playing good lately.
listen, he's still not my type of guy, but he's hitting shots. This is the thing. If he's hitting shots, that's
He's holding
the best thing.
40% from 3.
He's been crushing it with the shot, and I do think he's playing in better lineups. So I got to give
Yeah.
Joe some of that credit. That was something we talked about where I was like, you can't just leave him out there with 4 guys and just be like, hey, go create. That's just it's not going to go well. We've seen enough of it right now. We know that's not the answer. So definitely something to keep an eye on, and I will keep an open mind to the Anthony Simons.
Good. You're coming around on him. That's what I want to see.
Coming around. All right. Last thing I got here, and this is kind of like 5 asterisks here. This is really kind of like the 6th stat that we're getting into here. You got to talk about the Eastern Conference Player of the Week, Jaylen Brown. And to be honest, I don't really have any stats. It's just Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown has been, I do have one here. He's 4th in total drives in the NBA. But let's just be real. He's number 1 in awesomeness. He's been awesome this year. He's been unbelievable to watch. He's been someone along with the Celtics I feel is now nationally people are catching up to, hey, we got to start giving Jaylen Brown props. I saw on the MVP ladder on NBA.com, he's now in the top 10. Like he's starting to get all right, this is like borderline. Like he's got a shot at that 5th All NBA, first team All NBA spot, and he's like pretty solidly 2nd team All NBA at this point.
Especially if Giannis is going to miss out on first team because he's not in 65 games.
Right.
So it's like Wemby's probably not going to hit 65. Giannis
There might
ain't
be
hitting
2 spots
65.
open.
Yeah. So like there's no reason why Jaylen Brown can't work his way into an all first team All NBA discussion if the Celtics continue to play in stay in like a home court advantage situation in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Like he's playing that good. It's not even like the team success is finally backing up what we've all been seeing this year. It's just like this is the best we've ever seen Jaylen Brown. It's pretty damn special. And like there are some guys having some great years out there. Like a guy that always comes up is Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker. They're kind of looked at as his peers. I think the national media would rank both Mitchell and Booker over Jaylen Brown. There have been times where I've had Jaylen over both of those guys. There have been other times where I've had both of those guys over Jaylen. I just think they're all living in the same space. Like I don't think any one of them is like definitively better than the other guy. But this year, I think Jaylen is playing the best basketball of those three. Donovan Mitchell's playing really good basketball, but his team's shit in the bed. The Cavs have been disappointing. The Suns, on the other hand, Booker has been out the last couple of games. They're still winning basketball. They won tonight against the T-Wolves without Devin Booker, 108-105. Gillespie is like a revelation for them. Dylan Brooks is playing great basketball. Grayson Allen's playing great basketball. So like you could also kind of make the argument for Devin Booker out west just because the Suns are surprising in a much deeper, much tougher Western Conference. But right now, dude, like gun to my head, Jaylen Brown's on my first team All-NBA. Like he's been that special.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Whoa, dude. Whoa. Fucking super shredder over here.
I know. That explains some of the rescheduling right there, if you will. Yeah, I think it probably come down to him and Cade. I think that would be probably the battle for if we're assuming we're still counting Giannis for now and there's one spot. I think that's probably who it comes down to.
Yeah, my conversation was if it was two spots. No Giannis.
If there's two spots. Yeah. Then likely I think he would have to be in there. Listen, I don't know. It's 25 games in, but he's in the conversation. There's no doubt about it. Like he's right there with everybody else. There's only three guys that you can definitively right now that are healthy that you put above him. That's the SGA, Luka, and Jokic group, right? They live in a separate tier by themselves. And everybody else, they're all in that mix, 4 or 5, whoever's like, however you want to go ahead and rank them. And Jaylen Brown is squarely in that mix. He's got 13 30-point games right now on the season and is just playing so in control. I think I saw this stat the other day too. In the mid-range, I believe he's shooting a league. I think it's 50 on at least 4+ attempts. I believe he's shooting 53%. I think it was Kawhi was at 51. SGA was next and Brandon Ingram. So it's like all guys that you're like, man, they're mid-range assassins. And Jaylen Brown is even more efficient, which is the craziest part about his season for me, I think, is the efficiency with the added responsibility and not losing anything from it. In fact, only getting better. And it's, it doesn't feel like it's going to end. I just feel like he's never been this in control of the game before. And it's really, really fun to watch.
Yeah. After Jaylen Brown won the finals MVP, I was all in on last season being the holy shit, we're entering Jaylen Brown's like prime. We even had a video that was like, are we entering the Jaylen Brown era? And then he got hurt last year, man, straight up. Like he just wasn't healthy. But coming off that finals run where he and Tatum, like he was Eastern Conference Finals MVP, he deserved it, but you could have made the argument that Tatum deserved both of those. And like the fact that they're right there on the same level as players, just something that like I was always like, you always made the joke, like, when is Greg gonna make the joke that Jaylen Brown might be better than Jason Tatum? Like, we don't have to compare the two, but we do because it's just like natural to compare. And he's just playing like, you wonder what Tatum could do, like fully healthy, no Jaylen Brown with this lineup. But like, man, Jaylen's been fucking special this year, dude. Like, I can't even imagine anybody having a better season with this roster around him. Like, Jaylen Brown's been that special.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I will say for Tatum is you always look at the last couple of years when you're like, man, look at these plus minus darlings of Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard and Luka. You look at the 5-man lineup, it was just Tatum and on the bench, right? Like that was like where all of these inflated bench numbers were coming from was Tatum running with whatever the closest equivalent to the team Jaylen Brown has now is where you got a lot of those analytics like metrics that were just kind of like eye-opening, and it was all because Tatum was just uplifting them to a different level than what they really needed. So again, it's just we're lucky to have two of these guys that can really do it. And I think when it comes time, you really have started to well, you plus the success of this team opened my mind to like the conversation around what does it look like for Tatum to reintegrate. Like that's so fascinating now because I think in years past it's been Tatum had the responsibility of you got to carry these bench lineups. Now it's kind of like who both of these guys can carry a bench lineup. Both of these guys can carry whatever lineup, right? Like it doesn't need like there's going to be so much versatility. It's going to be really interesting to see if and when that happens, and just talking about the lead up to it of how it could look. I think that's just going to be extremely fascinating.
Dude, the lineup of Brown, Tatum, White, Minot, and Walsh. I just like want to see it so bad. I want to see that lineup play together so bad.
And you could put Minot or Ugo in there, right? Like you can actually have like both of those two. And so it's I think that's gonna be really fun. Hopefully we get to see that this year. Greg, really weird scheduling quirk that allowed for us to kind of be a little bit flexible with our recording schedule. So we're recording this here on Monday night. Celtics have 2 more days off. Then they play Thursday at Milwaukee, Giannis-less Bucks. So hopefully that should be a win to continue moving the chains here for the Celtics. Then they've got 3 more days off. Then an awesome home matchup against the Pistons, followed by 3 more days off. Thank you, NBA Cup. And then a back-to-back with Miami and Toronto next weekend. So really interesting schedule here. Lots of time for rest, lots of time for practice, for team bonding, whatever is going to be happening here. But the Celtics being third in the Eastern Conference, not much is going to change between now and the time we get to that big Pistons matchup because there's not many people are playing games because of the NBA Cup and the way the schedule kind of breaks. So really looking forward to that game on Monday, which could potentially be 1 versus 3 in the conference. And Greg, I'm sure, after the game on Thursday, maybe we'll pop on here, give a couple thoughts, maybe set up a preview for it. We'll see. We'll figure out what that schedule looks like, but that's going to do it for this episode here of Green with Envy. Celtics 15-9, 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. They are back on the court Thursday night against the Milwaukee Bucks. We will have more coverage for you guys later in the week. Greg, as always, appreciate you and everybody listening. We appreciate you. Make sure you guys are locked in and following us across all of our social medias, and we will catch you guys later. Peace.